So welcome everybody. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Andrea LaPlante. I'm a certified health coach with the Dr. Sears Wellness Institute. I am also a national marketing director with this amazing whole food, plant-based nutritional company. And I'm just so proud to be part of getting more plants into people. That's what we do. We get more plants into people. We get more whole food, clean whole food into people's DNA. We're growing our own and we have the cleanest nutrition. Grew up as an athlete, have 3 athletes. My son overdosed on isolated vitamin supplements as a toddler. It was a huge wake-up call for me. My mother was a nurse and always talked about prevention. But when that happened in my own family, it was just, I really need to take a closer look at our food supply, what vitamins are, why are people adding vitamins to their diet. It's not so much we need vitamins, not isolated ones, we need whole food nutrition with the whole vitamin intact that nature provided, which is fruits, vegetables, berries. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But tonight, and I can talk a little bit more. And if anybody has any questions about, how I got started and started looking into our food supply and our distribution channel and the contaminants on our foods and taking healthy back and our soil today within the next probably 50 to 60 years, the nutritional value in our soil will be depleted because our human population is growing, right? There's going to be 1 billion people in the world and we're going to be reusing and reusing the soil. So what I love about this is it's a economical and it's an eco-friendly solution to providing food for people without even having to worry about our soil and our soil conditions and quality. So I'm going to share the screen and I'm going to share a little bit about what the Tower Garden is. So Melanie, can you give me a thumbs up if you see that? Can you see the screen? Okay, great. I just like to, one time I did a presentation and got halfway through and no one said they couldn't see the screen. So Tower Garden, one of the reasons why I love Tower Gardens, I know you're going to probably think I'm a little quirky, but I don't care. I am so excited about the sustainability of this, you guys. I mean, it's so sexy and eco-friendly at the same time. It's just going to blow you away. But the story behind the Tower Garden, what is it? It's an aeroponic garden. A lot of people say, oh, is that a hydroponic garden? It's aeroponic because it's air and water. The roots are not suspended in water. And this brilliant man here in the picture, his name is Tim Blank, and he was the chief officer of the land exhibit at Epcot. So if anybody has been to Disney World, I'm sure pretty much everybody's heard of Disney World. I don't know if you've been to the land exhibit, but he is the mastermind behind growing the aeroponic food. If you got in a little boat and you went around, and people were coming to him and saying, hey, we would love to have access to food like this, and how can we grow it? And he had so much feedback, positive feedback about what he was doing. And he ended up leaving Disney and partnered with the Juice Plus company, which is where the Tower Garden is now being showcased with our company, because we are whole food, plant-based nutrition and capsules and chewables and a vegan nutritional beverage, vegan omega. And now we have our Tower Garden, more plants, more plants, more plants getting into people. And he left Disney so that he could create an individual growing system, the future of growing for individuals around the world. So you can grow anywhere. We have the Tower Garden Home, the Tower Garden Flex. I actually have 2. The reason I have light shining on my face right now is the lights in my office. I have a Tower Garden growing right in front of me. And I have one in my basement, and I take one out in the summer and I keep one indoors year round. I grow all the greens that I love for my salads. You become very, very spoiled. You become a lettuce snob and you don't want to buy any more greens at the grocery store. You don't have to worry about contaminants or recalls or bugs or plastic or worrying about even the distribution channel. And I'll get into that a little bit more, but there's no dirt. There's actually, NASA did a study, NASA, which is, everybody knows how incredible NASA is. It's actually 98% less water. It's not 90%. It's 90% less space, and it's 100% success. So these are just some of the things. Actually, what you can grow in the tower is anything but a root vegetable. And, when you look at produce that you're growing, or actually that you're buying, like organic produce, we all do the best we can, right? Even if you don't buy organic, you can wash it really well, and everyone does the best they can. If you decide you want to grow organic, which a lot of people do, or buy organic, it's a lot more costly. But when you're growing it and you're picking your lettuce and it's alive until you eat it, and everything's alive until you eat it, that nutritional value is jam packed. It hasn't been in a distribution channel, and we'll get through that a little bit as well too. But I love how earth friendly this is, everybody. It leaves a smaller carbon footprint. You don't drive to the store to get your lettuce. You literally walk in your office or your basement, or some people in warmer areas, they have theirs on the patio in their apartment or their high rise. I actually knew someone in New York City who had it in their closet. They had a tiny, tiny little apartment. So you can see you're not even using the soil, so you don't have to worry about depleting the soil. And it recycles the water. So you don't have to, the other piece of this is there are no contaminants. So that's really important to me. And when I mentioned to you that my son overdosed on isolated vitamin supplements, I started looking into our food supply, all of that. And part of the reason we need more fruits and vegetables is, one, the distribution channel means that things are picked prior to being vine ripened. That's where the nutrition takes place in the later stages of growing. And our plants are being shipped many times 1,500 miles. And it's loaded with chemicals on it so that it stays in the store. So it's preserved, and then you bring it home and it might sit in your refrigerator for a couple of days. It could even be in one of those plastic bags. Maybe by the time you get it, maybe you went away that weekend, it's all slimy. And then you're like, oh, I have to go back to the store. Or maybe it just doesn't taste as well or as vibrant. This is week 1 to week 3 and what the Tower Garden looks like. And then this visualization on the right-hand side, when you look at that green spongy tray, that's what's called rock wool, and it's made from volcanic ash. So what you do is you plant your little seeds right into the little squares, and you put a little vermiculite on it, which is it's kind of like putting a blanket on the seeds, and it keeps it warm. And in a few days, you're going to see, you wouldn't believe it. In a few days, you see that they start sprouting, and you have your own babies that nobody's touched. You become very attached to your babies. I remember my kids were little and they were like, Mom, you love those babies more than you love us. And I was like, well, it's pretty exciting, when you're growing your own greens. And we live in New England, and everything in our store is, again, in the distribution channel. I keep mentioning that a lot. But if you look out the window, it's freezing. There's ice. I mean, the actual growing season in New England is possibly 3 months, right? You put a lot of energy, you test your soil, you have to be around to make sure you water your garden. Contaminants, hopefully you don't have to use those, but you want to rotate the crops and the soil and make sure they're nourished. And then you hope that no rabbits or anything comes in and eats it, right? We hear that happens a lot.
Oh God.
So you can grow what you love. It's a vertical garden, so it's taking up space in the atmosphere. So you don't have to worry about it taking space vertically in the landscape where with all of the soil. So I'm just going to share some beautiful images of people who have different towers. These towers are on somebody's back deck. And this is an image of someone who has one on their porch in a high rise. And you can see the building. It's an apartment building, and they're growing their kale and their greens. And here's the thing about towers too, is when you get a tower and you get a child involved in growing their own, they're 3 times more likely to eat what they grow. So we're finding kids, even my boys are still picky. They don't like an actual salad, but they will pick off the Tower Garden and eat it. And they're learning about where their food comes from. And we have a whole free curriculum for teachers or anybody who wants to homeschool their kids and utilize that. This is added value curriculum that's been designated and designed for Tower Gardens. And kids are it's the STEM program. It's that learning, hands-on learning. You have math, you have science, you have nutrition. It's just brilliant. And this is the beauty, the aesthetic piece of it. I love this image. It's just Better Homes and Gardens, showing how pretty it is and how nice it looks. And then if you want to be blown away, this is so cool. And I love that it's in an athletic stadium. It's at AT&T Park. One of the MLB players there, his name was Hunter Pace, and he wanted to get more plants, clean plants, into stadiums. Now, when you think of stadiums, it's usually sausages and hot dogs and burgers, right? And fries and all that. Well, bringing these Tower Gardens into the stadium, people are able to use the greens to put on the burger or have an actual salad. And again, it's eco-friendly, so there's no distribution channel, and people are able to eat healthier. and grow on the towers. So if you haven't heard of Stephen Ritz, he has created the Green Bronx Machine in the South Bronx. And what is so amazing about him is he's a teacher with the biggest heart on the planet. He's been all over the globe now at towers. He's met the Pope. He's been to Dubai. There are towers in the deserts now. But what he did was single-handedly, he resurrected the Bronx, and he showed footage of how there was no clean whole food for his kids in his school to eat. And the admissions of the students was very low. So they weren't graduating either, because if you don't go to school, you're not learning, you're not becoming educated, you're not graduating. Bringing the towers in created a whole program. And now his school is the first health and wellness center in the world. You would be blown away with what he's done with these towers. Kids are growing their own basil, and they're making pesto, and they're using that for economics and marketing and nutrition and taking control over what they're eating, and they're learning how to grow, and they are learning absolutely everything. And he is just one of the most brilliant men, and you can find him on Facebook and you can find him on Instagram. But he's also partnered with our company, and he's sharing these tower gardens as well, and just making such an impact in the community with these tower gardens. And the curriculum is just outstanding. So you can just see a couple of images here on what he's doing, just what one person can do by bringing these aeroponic gardens into the school system. And this is my town. I live in Plainville, Mass. And when my son was in 4th grade, we brought a tower into the school, and the kids were learning how to grow. And we would have the parents come in, and we did lettuce wraps instead of bread one day. They had their little carrots, and they picked their lettuce. And what I think was so mind-blowing to me is I had parents come up to me and say, "Excuse me, my child has never eaten anything green before, but now that they're growing their own, they've had kale for the first time, or they've had bok choy." And I would ask the kids, "Well, what's the difference between the lettuce on this tower than anything you've had at home?" And they would say, "Mrs. LaPlante, I didn't know that lettuce had a smell." And I was blown away. I was like, "Oh my gosh, you guys, I didn't really even figure that out myself. I couldn't believe it." I've never smelt lettuce. It always from the store. Sometimes it smelt a little bit. I get so excited. I'm tongue-tied. Sometimes it smells bleachy, and there is no smell. Or you break it and you don't smell anything. But with the Tower Garden lettuce, it's alive and nutrient dense until you eat it. So that basil that you pick off and you break, you can smell that across the room. And if anybody has a Tower Garden and wants to put in the chat if you've ever smelt that, it stays on your hands and you can smell it. The cilantro, the basil, the bok choy, the kids say, "Mrs. LaPlante, the bok choy is really spicy." And, you know, it's just absolutely amazing because our food supply at this point, and we all do the best we can, but I think we can do better. I think we can do better, and this is a solution and how we can do it. And I look at it as, one of the statistics in our society today with the standard American diet is that our children may not outlive their parents. And that didn't sit well with me. And after my son overdosed on vitamins and I dove into nutrition and, my kids are athletes, so really focusing on fuel and clean burning fuel and recovery and keeping them healthy well into their future. Making sure that our kids have a future starts at home. And I knew, you know what, we need to do better. And if I start now, I'm going to partner with this company. I'm getting a team to rally with me, and we're going to share this with everybody we know and just get more plants into people and get people healthier. And this is North Attleboro, one of the neighboring towns. There's about 11 towers in the schools from kindergarten all the way up through the high school. This is an example of towers in a nursery school. Again, this is curriculum, you guys. Homeschooling, Tower Gardens in nursery schools, all the way up through colleges. Think about what kids are eating in college. So this is a big deal for me. So now I have this great groove with my family. Tower Gardens, we have whole food concentrates and nutritional beverage and our omegas. And I send my daughter off to college and there's no food. It's all fast food. And we took her off the meal plan within 2 weeks of her being in school. It was all fast food. So what are we supposed to do with that? Well, this is a huge solution. We can get towers into colleges. And then I sent her on her way with her nutritional, which she's using, and she's still chopping, buying her own food and chopping and slicing. But it really starts at home. And this is a great restaurant idea where they have towers out in the restaurant, and people are able to utilize the produce for their salads and whatnot in the restaurant. And this is a restaurant called Bell Book and Candle, which is in New York City. I've been to the restaurant. It's really, really beautiful. And on the roof of New York City, there's this tower farm, and they use all the produce for the restaurant below in the summer months. And if you see that white tarp on the top of the building, because they have that tarp on, people actually messaged the owner of the building and said, thank God for you bringing those towers in, because it's keeping the air conditioning costs down. And it was really helping to insulate the building. And not only that, but if you are really excited about sustainability and the future of our planet, towers are bringing bees back, right? So the bees are pollinating, and they're coming into New York City and wherever else these towers are, and the whole pollination process is starting. So this is an example of a tower garden farm in O'Hare Airport. And what blew me away was they actually had one of the world's first farmers market inside an airport. So what I think is so ironic is you can see the man looking out the window, and typically the produce would be shipped from other areas into the airport, but the airport is sustaining itself with clean greens. And then it's utilized through the whole airport with different restaurants. If you love the idea of giving back, this is a great program for veterans where they can come in and utilize towers. Or if you think of assisted living or nursing homes or activities for the elderly, they can't bend down, or they may not have the strength to be able to have their own garden, and it may be too much for them, but to have something to grow of their own. And even today, people are on the move. This is my tower garden that I had. If you look out the window with the blinds, that was a snowstorm that we had several years ago. It was a blizzard, and here I had my greens inside, and I was so excited. You can take your towers anywhere as long as you plug it in and you have a water source. This is an example. I mean, if you're on a beach, there's no gardens, right? But if you have a place on the beach and you want to grow and have your own garden, just put it right outside your patio or wherever it is in your beach house. But we also have a microgreen extension kit. We know that those microgreens are power packed with nutrition at a smaller level, so that's interesting too. But just look at this image, you guys. People are building and actually opening tower farms around the world, and this is such a dream come true, to be able to see how the water is being recycled in the basin. So what happens is there's a pump, and the pump pumps the water up, and it just trickles down. You can hear it trickling down. It sounds like a waterfall, which is really nice. It's on a timer. So this is like gardening for dummies, even though it's one of the most brilliant concepts. NASA has studied it, and it was in a magazine where NASA actually did research. We've had research on this from the University of Mississippi, that it grows 3 times faster. There's a higher yield. It's more nutritious, all of that stuff. It tastes better. It's better for the environment. It's eco-friendly. And then you look at the tower farm here and how much space you can take up in the atmosphere and how many people you can feed. Look at the size of these tower farms. So if you love the idea of this and you want one for yourself, ask the person who invited you on this call, reach out to that person. If you want to partner with us, we need more voices, you guys, because our food supply is taking a huge hit, and it's not getting better. As we get in and the human population grows, the quality of our soil is going to be depleted more and more. And a lot of our farmland right now is being bought up, and we don't really have that much control over who is, utilizing that soil and taking care of it. So this is a way for us to take control. Some people like to have one crop in theirs, and this is talk about health on the go. If you want to grab your, your mobile, what do I call this? I can't even think of the name of it. And you can see what it is for yourself. I don't know why I'm losing the name of it, but you take yourself on the road and you can unpack your tower gardens and plug it into a source, and there you are. I mean, you're Winnebago and you're off on the road with your tower garden. So it's just giving you an idea of how versatile it is to take your garden with you. And the reasons to grow a tower garden, there's so many, you guys. It's food grade plastic. Chemicals won't leach into your produce. This will last up to 30 years. Double UV protective coating. The water, you're saving 98% water. An actual, what does it take? It takes a gallon of water to grow a head of lettuce in the tower garden. And in the soil, it takes, I don't know how many gallons. I think it's over at least 13 gallons of water. And a half acre of tower gardens, think about this, you guys, half acre of tower gardens equates to 30 acres of land, which just blows me away. So it comes with everything that you need to get started. There's no soil. You don't have to worry about pests outside. A lot of people will say, oh, if I put it outside, am I going to have pests come? And what happens is, because it's on a timer and it turns on, it kicks on and off. Even with people in the house have said, you know, their cats or their dogs, they end up running away from it because it turns on. This is Juice Plus, which is the whole food concentrates I mentioned. And this is, when I first partnered with this company, this is what I saw. And then the Tower Garden came, which I fell in love with. But Juice Plus is, when you think of generational farmers, we've worked with the same local farmers for the last 25 years. They specialize in one crop. The apple farmer specializes in the apple. The peach farmer specializes in just the peach. The plant is allowed to ripen on the vine. You know, when you pick up a peach in the winter and you bite into it, and it's hard, it doesn't smell, there's no juice, it's mealy, and you're like, I'm not even going to buy a peach during this time of year, right? How many times has that happened to you? But what about the summer and get it just right? And it's like oozing, right? Dripping out. That's what our produce is supposed to taste like. It's supposed to smell like. Its nutrient density is at its peak. And that's how all of this produce is grown. But the reason why it doesn't have to have contaminants on it, and the reason why we utilize it the way it is with its nutrient density, is once it's reached its peak and it's picked, it doesn't have to sit on a shelf in a store, on your shelf, or in your refrigerator. It's picked and it's washed with water and it's crushed whole. So you're getting the peels of the orange. That's where all the bioflavonoids are. When was the last time you had the orange peel? Never. We've never eaten the orange peel, but my family gets that every single day in their diet with all of these 30 colors in synergy. The average sedentary person needs 7 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. If you're an athlete, it's 16 to 20. And that's not even taking into account if you have any autoimmune or any inflammation or any oxidation happening from other reasons. So we really need that much more. And that's where that number's coming from. So adding this to our diet every day, making sure my kids are getting the whole food concentrates. We're still chopping and slicing and getting them what we can. And we also have a vegan omega, which I absolutely love, because your body doesn't make omegas. You have to get them from an outside source. And this is a plant-based option. A lot of people have turned to fish oil. It takes, for 1 ounce of fish oil, it takes 5 pounds of fish. And then you have to worry about plastics in the ocean, contaminants in the fish. With this, we actually grow our own algae, because you don't get your omegas from fish, you get them from the algae that fish eat. So we bypass the fish altogether and we go straight to the source. We grow our own algae and we have cold pressed seeds and berries. It's a full spectrum omega 3, 5, 6, 7, and 9. So that and synergy, and what that does, omegas are like anti-inflammatory. They keep your cells pliable, nice and soft, so you can actually absorb nutrients, clean up the cell, and take that trash out. So that's what we are, the most nutritional, thoroughly researched nutritional in the world. When I first went into my gym, I worked out at a boxing gym for years, over 10 years before all of this happened. And this is where I saw this nutrition, and I immediately turned it around, because there were no vitamins in my house after what happened to my son. And I saw food label, no poison control number, no warning label, and no child safety lock. And then I saw the NSF label and I was blown away. So what that means is, once this produce is dried, crushed whole and dried, and the sugar in the water is removed, it is tested for herbicides, pesticides, molds, mildews, and heavy metals. So I consider this in my tower garden the cleanest produce I can absolutely get my hands on. The NSF label is for anyone. My daughter's a Division I athlete. If you're caught taking anything in, a lot of the protein powders on the market today are not regulated. Anything can be in there with a different label, and there's a lot of harmful things. I have another presentation I can do about athletes and all of that if anybody wants to learn more about that too. But this is clean whole food with a nutrition label, no banned substances, certified for Olympic athletes, college athletes, and for anybody who just wants to have clean fuel in their body and know that it's clean and safe. It's safe for babies 6-month-old all the way to elderly in the feeding tube. And that's what made sense to me. Foundational food, just like the tower garden, growing your own, having control over where your food is coming from, knowing that it's safe and clean. There's no contaminants on it. So just to run through it again, 98% less water, 90% less space. You grow what you love, 30% more yield, 3 times faster. It's safe and nutritious, and it's a game changer. If you love to garden, I remember bringing this or talking to my son's school about it, and they had started a garden outside the school, and which is awesome, right? It's what every parent wants, is to have their kids involved in the gardening program at school, or to have the school be a green school and kind of look at that and figure out how they can educate the kids that way. Well, they set the garden up, and then it was summer, and that's when the garden took off. And then when the kids came back to school, it was fall and the garden was over. So thinking about the educational component, it works so well with schools. So that was the end of the slideshow. And I can stop the share here. And I just want to thank you all for joining tonight on the sustainability. We're so excited for people to learn more about this. And if you're so excited and you want to grow your own, just reach out to the person who invited you to the call. If you want to be part of this with us, we need more voices and can get more plants into people. It's absolutely like, it just feels really good to be out in the world doing good things. And we have a team, our wellness warriors, several of them are on tonight. And when I tell you their hearts and what they're doing to make an impact in people's lives, it warms my heart. So that's what we do. And if anybody has any questions and they want to ask, or you feel free to ask the person who invited you on the call too. And I'm happy to connect with anyone as well. And if you have to go, that's fine. Feel free to jump off and ask questions, or if you want to stick on and ask questions, you can do that too. But it was so nice to see everybody tonight. Thanks for joining us.